I'm Jennifer Sanasi. You're watching News 24 Live. Well, one of my favorite South African actors, Brandon Auret, is joining me in studio. We're going to chat about his brand new upcoming movie, Chappie. Hello.
How's it going?
Good. I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too.
Are
my first time here, so yeah, it's good.
Yay. Now tell me about Chappie. I watched the trailer and it looks awesome.
Yeah. It's an epic movie. I mean, I've said this before. Neil has taken. In all of his movies, he has some kind of underlying messages, and it's not just always one message. There's a whole bunch of messages, and it's always been kind of, I think it's been a little bit politically driven.
Yeah.
But Chappie's more about being human, and it's heartfelt, and it's an incredible. I don't want to say this, but it's an incredible love story in that the audience falls in love with Chappie, because I think at some point in the movie, the robot becomes more human than the human beings, and I think that's what the whole movie is about, is questioning what makes you human, what makes you have the ability to be considered human or be considered alive. Is it the ability to think for yourself, to be able to see, touch, smell, or is it consciousness? Is it the ability to be able to think for yourself and make the decision between right and wrong? And I know people say, there's no division. What's right for you is not right for me. What's wrong for you is not necessarily wrong for me. But I think there is a very, very, very thin line with human beings knowing, we know what's right and what's wrong, whether we want to admit it or not. And that's the question, is what makes you human?
Now, you've worked with Neil extensively in the past many years.
Yeah.
I've never met him before, but he sounds like he is the most interesting man. How have you seen him develop?
Well, Neil's growing as a filmmaker. I mean, we can see from District 9 to Elysium, the kind of massiveness of the films that he's taken on, but he's an incredibly gentle spirit. Neil he cares about not just the movie that he's working on, but he cares about the people that work on the movie with him. Not to give away any names, but a friend of ours that worked in District 9 was quite on the phone emailing Neil about how much he loves LA, and he had all these places marked out on a map on his wall that he was wanted to visit one day. And came the premiere of Elysium, Neil flew him to LA to come and see the premiere, and then got him a chauffeur to take him to all of these places that he'd only been dreaming about. So it gives you kind of the idea of that Neil's an incredibly, he's a good person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now tell me about your character in Chappie.
Yeah,
Looks like he was fun to play.
Yeah, it was. When you get a character and the director gives you the kind of freedom to go with this character where you want to go and allows you to kind of push the boundaries, you end up having a lot more fun than what you expected. I mean, especially with this character, he's a badass.
Yeah, this is the internet. You can say whatever you want.
He's a badass. He's a badass. But he's still a human being. He still has all these human traits, But I think Neil's great that he's not only are his movies story driven, but they're character driven. He has, especially in Chappie. I mean, the kind of characters that you're gonna get to meet are just they're across the board crazies, mad freaks. They're living in a lawless society. So you can just imagine the kind of fun that we had on set. Yeah. I mean, I was saying to one of the guys that on our second day of shooting, the armorer came to me and he said we'd cleared out like 11,000 rounds on our second day of shooting. So it has this
11,000 rounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big day.
Sounds like a big day.
Yeah, and then so you have all these. You have this typical Neil Blomkamp action film with these great characters, but then there's these underlying storylines that just come across, and it's, in my opinion, I think it's out of all three of the scripts that he's done and the three movies that I've worked on, I think this is my favorite by far.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you into sci-fi? Are you into sci-fi?
I love my sci-fi. I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Return of the Jedi. Star Wars, and that's the movie that made me want to become an actor. Yeah, I've watched Return of the Jedi, I don't know, 1,000 times.
1,000 times.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear something that I am not proud to say?
What?
But I only saw Return of the Jedi 2 weekends ago for the first time.
What a great movie. Huh?
It's amazing.
It's a great movie. I mean, I'm a massive Star Wars fan as well. So, it was just weird that the kind of movies that influenced me as a kid was like Return of the Jedi, Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, Rambo. It's one of my top movies with Sylvester Stallone. I'm a massive fan of his. And
Old Sly.
Old Sly. And it's weird how all those things have kind of come together in the movies that I've done. I'm always firing some kind of weapon or some kind of mercenary or some kind of crazy guy, and I love sci-fi, and I've ended up doing these 3 amazing sci-fi films. So, you know, whatever the universe is handing me, I'm taking it.